Last year, I recorded a review on my new Honda Africa Twin ES 2025 model. 6 months in, over 3,000 miles later, and I still haven't outgrown the damn thing. This is the 2025 Africa Twin ES, my Goldilocks bike. Not too big, not too small, just right. Big enough to haul ass, small enough not to feel like I'm trying to saddle a runway freight train every time I hit the twisties. I know, some of you are still in love with the idea of the big German battleship or the KTM land missile. But here's the deal, this thing is everything I need and nothing I don't. I've ridden this DTC version. It's good, too good, almost. But it's kind of too smooth, too robotic, a bit sterile. Me, I like to row my own gears. The manual transmission, frankly, reminds me that I'm alive. Every click feels earned. And yes, I added the Honda quickshifter. Call it cheating if you want, but it's a good kind of cheating. It's like pouring bourbon into your coffee, I suppose. Now, I recorded much of this at the beginning of spring, and there's something almost unreal about the foothills of the North Cascades Mountains here in Washington State in spring. Everything's just alive. The road curls through rolling green like it was drawn with a paintbrush. The pines are on one side, there's pastures on the other. It kind of reminds me a lot of New Zealand, actually. And there's that sort of cool mountain air that sort of sneaks through your helmet vents. It's not hot enough yet to really roast you. It's cool enough just to make you really appreciate the place. It's the kind of riding that makes you forget about the specs and horsepower, where it's not about how fast you're going or how far away real life suddenly feels. It's really just you and the bike and the rhythm of the road. It's pure fucking magic riding out here. And one of the things I really do appreciate about a bike like this is, even though I'm not much of an off-road rider, it is nice once in a while when you're riding down a road like this one and you see, some gravel or a road that leads to kind of nowhere, and you really want to go down it. And with this bike, you really can. And I've really learned to appreciate that about this style of bike. Now, I've also owned the Aprilia Tow Rag, a so-called midweight ADV bike, which I also really, really enjoyed. And I took it on a similar road to this, and I've reviewed it. And you can see that here. I'll put a link up somewhere. But the Africa Twin just has that little bit more power, that little bit more grace, and it really is an excellent motorcycle. Does it touch your heart and pull at the heartstrings like a Ducati Multistrada, which I've owned many of? No. But is it a purposeful bike? Is it a bike that makes me feel really good when I ride it and confident that it's going to get me home? Yeah, absolutely. So, what have I done since I got this bike? Well, I added the SW Motec crash bars, which are excellent. Big fan of the quality of those guys and what they produce. I also added matching top case and side panniers from SW Motec. And I also added the Seat Concept seat, which is actually a really good seat. The stock seat for me was just not quite right. I really like the Seat Concept seat. It's a little bit higher and it's definitely more plush and wider. I installed the TourTech GPS mount. I still like to have the GPS as well as CarPlay. I like a dedicated GPS system, so I set that up and mounted and wired that up. The SW Motec Daypack tank bags, the Pro line are amazing, really, really good. I've actually got a few different sizes for different bikes, and they're just really easy the way they clip onto the tank magnetically and lock on. They also installed a Denali sound bomb, which is loud as fuck. I'm not going to demo it here because it's just going to freak everyone out, but it's really loud, and it's actually wired and connected to my new Delaney S4 light pods. So whenever I high beam, the horn goes, which is awesome. I'm careful how I use it because I don't want to piss people off, but it's really loud, and maybe one day I'll demo it on the channel. So now we're going to continue riding through the foothills here at the Pacific North Cascades, and I just want to talk a little bit more about some of the things that I'm really loving about this bike. So I suppose first off, compared to the mighty BMW GS, which is still, I think, the class leader, despite not everyone loving the looks of the new bike, the Africa Twin definitely gives you, obviously nearly as much comfort and tech, frankly, for several $1,000s left. But you're sacrificing that full-on highway grunt and some of the plush features that the BMW has, like heated seats. Now, on the other side of the coin, against KTM's 890, which is a fantastically balanced bike. Now, the Africa Twin is thrilling off-road, but it beats it hands down all day for comfort and sort of electronics finesse. So my sense is if you want that sweet spot ADV that can commute, tour, and still hit gravel with confidence without feeling like a tank or an overgeared sort of race bike, then I think the Africa Twin ES is sort of the Goldilocks choice. I would put the new Multistrada V2 in that category as well, not the V4. Now, I'm going to ride the new V2 soon. The old V2 was fantastic, and I always describe that as a Goldilocks bike as well. So it's good to see that there are more choices now in this category of bikes. I do like the fact that this now has a 19-inch front wheel, which makes it more sporty, if you can say that about a bike like this, but you definitely have more feel in that front end, and riding a motorcycle, that front end feel is everything when it comes to riding. So, I think this bike sits right in the middle of what I call the ADV triangle. As I said, on one side you've got the BMW, like the luxury yacht, I suppose, of adventure bikes. You've got that Boxer Twin, all those nice things. I mentioned the other side being the KTM 890. That thing really is a dirt bike on adventures, in an adventure suit, I suppose. And I think that if you're thinking about what you're looking for, well, it's not a mountain goat like the KTM, but it'll take you down fire roads and gravel trails without any drama. On-road, it cruises at 80 all day, eats up twisties with that 19-inch front wheel, as I said earlier, and it doesn't cook your knees in the process. So I suppose if the GS is too big and the KTM is too bare bones, the Africa Twin is just the right porridge. I am Scottish after all. So I'm here in Yakima Canyon, and taking a ride through essentially a desert canyon here in the eastern part of Washington State here in the US on the West Coast. We have put the quickshifter on it, the Honda quickshifter, because this is the DTC, not the non-DCT version of the bike. I'm running 4-manual gearbox, quickshifter. It's the ES version. It's got the 19-inch front wheel, so has more feel to it than like a classic adventure bike, which I really like. I actually installed the GPS mount from TourTech, so I can have a dedicated Garmin device on it as well, because frankly, even though I've got the CarPlay stuff going, and I made a video on that, it's still kind of a pain in the ass, if I'm honest, and I kind of like having a dedicated GPS, although when I'm riding around town, the CarPlay is fine. It's when you're touring and you need to transition from gas station to gas station, and you got to remember the right order to plug stuff in, and it gets kind of to be a bit of a pain in the ass. So we've got some people here having fun. They're out hanging out in the river and paddling and surfing and catching fish and jet skiing and all that fun stuff. So now we're here in the Yakima Canyon on the eastern part of Washington State, and the scenery here goes from Tolkien to Mad Max in about 2 hours. Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, to Mad Max, literally in about 2 hours. It's hotter, drier, dustier, and this is where this engine and this bike still really shines. The suspension really sort of shrugs off the rougher pavement. Frankly, it sort of treats it like it owes it money or something, and the engine is smooth as hell. but with just enough punch, plenty of punch actually, to pass a semi as we say in the US, when you're too impatient to wait for a pull off. But here's the thing, I've owned a lot of bikes, sport bikes, cruisers, overpowered Italian divas, but this Africa Twin is the one I reach for when I don't want to overthink it, when I just want to explore or sort of get lost or just go. It's the motorcycle equivalent of your favorite pair of boots, I suppose. Broken in, dependable, and somehow sort of still feels badass when you need it to. So the Yakima Canyon's just a completely different beast. The temperature climbs, the curves tighten, and the road starts to talk back a little if you've ever had that feeling. And this is where you figure out if your bike is all show or if it's really built for the ride. And I think for me, this is where the Africa Twin surprises people. It's definitely surprised me. You look at it and you think, big ADV bike, probably a bit soft in the corners. But especially with this new 19-inch front wheel, when you twist the throttle and lean in, it tightens up like it's been waiting for this moment. And the Showa electronic suspension does a pretty good job, I think, of adjusting on the fly. It firms up when you need it, and it floats when you don't. So you can dial it in for twisties or just let it auto-manage depending on your load and riding mode. Now I actually have a few favorites set up, sort of favorite modes set up, so you can set the settings you like and as many favorites as you want. And I sort of switch between those favorites versus relying on the automatic modes. Now, talking about automatic modes, if you just want to ride that as well, in touring mode, it's basically a rolling lounge chair, sort of big tank, tall windscreen, neutral ergos. It's like flying business class with knobby tires, I suppose. And while the stock seat's okay and the vibes are minimal, I found that the seat concept seat is a lot better for me at 210 pounds, 6 feet. And you don't feel like you're manhandling a giant bike through the corners at all. But flip it into sport, shift down to the quickshifter that I've installed, and suddenly you're on a performance tourer that just happens to be wearing hiking boots. That's kind of the best way to describe it. The engine's not going to rip your arms off, but it's got broad, predictable torque curve that makes canyon carving pretty easy and confidence inspiring. The brakes are strong, feedback's really solid, and the bike stays pretty planted, even when the road gets messy. And so I suppose that's the real magic here. I think it adapts. It gives you a comfortable ride when you're chilling, but it tightens up and leans into the fun when the road turns interesting. Now, I always find it hard to transition to street riding when I'm spending a lot of time on the track. You can imagine, 1 minute I'm on a Aprilia RS660 on the track, or my Ducati Panigale V2, and the next minute I'm on this big sort of ADV bike. And so sometimes I second guess myself a little bit, because it takes a while to sort of transition and get that feeling back on the street. And so I also have a Ninja 1100 SX tourer, which is a sport tourer. It's a more engaging ride, and that is, I've done videos on that bike as well. We live in an amazing time now of choice, and just so much choice. It's almost too much choice, and the bikes are all so good. It's really hard to find a bike that's bad. So everyone, I'm done for the day. I'm going to take a walk in this beautiful neighborhood that I call the Pacific Northwest. And as I'm walking, I'm thinking about, well, who's this bike for? Well, it's for riders who want to do a little bit of everything without the need of a spreadsheet and an Excel macro, I suppose, to manage their suspension settings. It's for people who love tour, dabble off-road, still want to carve a few canyons on the way to a campsite or a decent dinner. Maybe they don't need the hard edgeness of a tall rounded bike with an even smaller front wheel, like some of the other bikes out there, like the BMW XL1000, for example. But maybe if you're into bikes that don't feel like they're trying to impress your ego, but actually support your adventure, then I think this is for you. It's the do most things well machine. But who's it not for? Well, if you're looking for 160 horsepower and launch controls so you can wheelie through Starbucks, then this ain't your steed. And if you think dirt should only be on a golf course, then maybe look at a Goldwing. And if you're allergic to shifting gears, then Honda's got a DCT version for that. But for me, I'll keep clicking through the gears and I suppose grinning like a old fat idiot. Anyway, so that's my 6-month check-in with the 2025 Africa Twin ES. I'm still loving it, still finding new reasons to ride it. I suppose now it's your turn. Look, tell me what you liked, what you didn't, what bike you're riding, or why you think I'm completely full of shit. I don't take things personally. I do read comments. Usually I just try not to sound like a press release, if you know what I mean. So if you like the video, hit the buttons. You know which ones. Helps me know I'm not just shouting into the algorithm void. And this is not my day job. It's just something I do for fun. So maybe I'll see you up there. Ride safe. Thanks, everyone.